Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today we're starting off the episode in front of the Woodland Mansion that we just raided in the last episode. Hope you guys enjoyed a look around this, and don't worry, all the Vindicators and stuff are still safe and sound in here. Now I'm gonna head back to our base because we are 6,000 blocks away in one direction and about 4,500 blocks away in the other direction. We want to get back to our base and do a little bit of work today because today we're going to start work on a slime farm, which is going to be great. We're going to have loads of slime to play with. It's going to be fantastic. We can make bouncy pads. We can make lots of sticky pistons. It's basically the next step in kind of advancing the technology of our world to gather a whole lot of slime. But before I went, I thought I would just give a bit of appreciation to this landscape because look at this. This enormous cliff is right here in the dark oak forest biome, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's surrounding this little lake area like so, and then over here you've got a massive ravine on the opposite side which is really quite cool to look at. There's creepers and all sorts spawning down there. We're surrounded by all of these mushrooms, and every now and again, I just like to take a moment to appreciate the landscape that Minecraft generates because this truly is a magical game. Now, aside from that, I think I'm going to head home right about now. I think we should have enough fireworks to get us there. Just got to fly up into the air. Now, on the way back, I thought I would discuss a little bit about what we need to do. Once I've checked that we are headed in the right direction, both of those numbers are going down. Excellent. Looks like we're headed in the right direction at least. Now, one of the things we need to do to start a slime farm is to locate a slime chunk. And to be honest, there are not a great deal of good ways to do this naturally in survival vanilla Minecraft. And this kind of includes both the Bedrock and the Java editions when I say that finding a slime chunk is a little bit difficult. Slimes often spawn in swamp environments, so you will find them whenever the moon is not the new moon. Whenever you have like a crescent moon or a full moon especially, you'll find a lot of slimes spawning at that time. But the rest of the time, slimes don't really spawn anywhere else except underground in certain chunks between certain elevations. And the problem with that is there's no real way of detecting where those chunks are unless you find a slime. And even then, there is no guarantee that that slime has actually spawned where you find it, or maybe it's just, turned up there by moving through the caves naturally. And so you might dig out an entire chunk not to find any slime spawning there whatsoever. So it's a bit of a potluck thing. A lot of the time you'll find slimes spawning in your beacon mines if you're using a beacon to haste to mine for diamonds and that kind of stuff, or even just for regular resources, you'll find slimes spawning down there as well. So you might get lucky and find one of those. But if you're like me, you probably don't want to strip out a whole bunch of the terrain below where you're building, so you won't have a slime farm that is nearby. So what we're going to do is head back to our mapping tool of choice. I'm going to go to mineatlas.com. You can use Chunkbase or various other websites or applications to find this, and we're going to use this mapping tool to find a slime chunk for us. So here we are in MineAtlas once again. I've disabled all of the stuff that tells you where villages are and jungle temples and that kind of thing. We've taken all of those off. I've left the spawn marker indicating exactly where we spawn. In fact, the little plains biome section over here is where we started off. The spawn thing is just kind of a general location you can actually spawn in a decent radius around this, which is why this little patch of forest here is showing as the spawn area. In fact, right here is where we're building the city of Founders Forge, so that's slowly going to take shape in this plains biome as we go. But this is the seed. Right over here is our industrial area. You get the idea. You can kind of see where some of this stuff is taking shape. Now I'm going to enable the option to show slime chunks, and the first thing you're going to notice is there's quite a lot of them. We have a whole bunch of slime chunks in this area, and in fact some areas are super clustered with them. When I say chunk, remember this is a 16 by 16 area in which we were going to find the slime spawning, and it turns out that many of them are situated around our spawn area. In fact, that one over there looks like it's more or less right by where we're building the house that I started building a few episodes ago. Along here especially, you will see a few chunks there that are quite familiar. That one there, I think, actually houses our iron farm, and there are 3 chunks in a row right there, so there's definitely a few different options for places we could build this slime farm. As far as this little area goes though, I'm actually kind of intrigued by this spot over here where there are 3 slime chunks in this kind of like Tetris block shape. We've got 3 of them surrounding a chunk over here. And so if we look at the coordinates there and we look at the chunk numbers that are being displayed underneath the coordinates, we can just about see where we're going to find those in our world. And that's at -3, -5, 24, and -3, 23. Now, we'll be able to reference those numbers once we get back into the game, but I'll also take down the coordinates of this area, and maybe instead of just building one slime farm, we could ultimately end up building 3 slime farms. One here, and one here. So coming out here to Founders Forge itself, we're kind of on the outside of town right here. You can see that this section here gets a little bit mountainous, but this is actually the center of those 3 chunks, around about here. If we press F3, you can take a look at the chunk data underneath the blocks and the coordinates on the left-hand side there, and that says -4, 4, 24 right there, and that's the chunk that we're currently in. Now, if we press F3 and G, we can confirm that this chunk here has boundaries around these sides, and then if we step one block over this way, we get into -5, 24, and this right here is the start of one of our slime chunks. Now, you'll remember they kind of happened in that Tetris block pattern, so if we cross the border into this chunk, this one is -4, 23, which is going to be the chunk that we use for a second slime farm, and then over here in this chunk, -3, 24, that's the one that we're going to use for a third slime farm. So we really have quite a lot of space to be working with here. And the idea is that we're going to dig down to levels 40 and below, and that's where we will find slimes starting to spawn. Now, obviously, this is going to be a lot of digging work, so the best option here would be to go and grab our beacon and use that to dig out a large section of a cave underneath these mountains. We're going to dig down to bedrock level. We're going to dig down as far as we possibly can, and remember, we're going to use our safety method here of digging down 2 blocks at a time and standing on the join between those 2 blocks to make sure that we don't accidentally fall into lava or anything like that. We got pretty lucky that we didn't run into lava on the way down, but now I'm down here, I can definitely hear a lava lake bubbling quite close by. So hopefully we will have enough of a radius here to set up our beacon. We're at about Y12 right now, which should give us enough leeway that we won't have to worry too much about the haste effect running out. And of course, like every time I set up a beacon, I've forgotten to bring down any kind of resource to give to the beacon. But luckily for me, there are some diamonds here in the corner. And I have enough diamonds right now that I don't mind wasting one of these on setting up the beacon. It's going to mean we reveal a whole bunch of diamonds anyway, so we might as well. Let's have some haste too, and let's dig out this place, shall we? Oh, and I get a few short hops into this cave system, and I come across a zombie spawner. Well, would you look at that? Have I run out of torches? I've run out of torches. What the heck? Let's hope there's some coal in this chest. Oh, good, there is. All right. Well, looks like we've got a bit of a zombie horde situation on our hands, folks. Oh, boy, it's a good thing I covered that lava lake over with obsidian. There we go. All right. Well, a zombie spawner is interesting as a prospect. That's pretty squarely in one of our slime chunks, is it not? Yeah, with -423, I think it is. I think that is within the range of one of our chunks. So, yeah, I think I might I might actually take out the chunks to either side and leave this spawner here, in case we can come up with some kind of, like, combination design. But spawners and a slime farm are not exactly going to mix all that well. So I think we'll leave this here for now, but we'll keep it lit up. It shouldn't have anything spawning in here. Maybe we'll put some torches in the corners just to be safe, because I'm going to be digging out this area in a little bit anyway. But yeah, zombie spawner find, not bad. Now we're going to start off with this chunk here, the one that is marked out as -524. The number in the middle is your Y position. That's the sub-chunk that you're in. So we're in the lowest sub-chunk right now at 0. And then once we get up here, we'll be into 1. But the thing I need to work out is my Y coordinate. And right now we're at Y16, 17, 18. I need to go up to Y40, because that's where we're going to start digging out this entire chunk. So we'll need to sort out where the boundaries are. But I'm just going to make a kind of rough spiral staircase up here, and once again hope that I don't run into any lava lakes in the walls nearby. We are apparently going to run into an abandoned mine shaft. Is this one I've explored already? There's a torch on the wall here. I think I may have been here. How exciting. All right, not to worry. We did do a little bit of caving in some of these hills. Okay, here we are at Y40, and I'm starting to get a little bit worried because I'm hearing lava popping in the walls. But we need to dig out this entirety of the chunk, so basically anywhere within where it says we are in chunk -5224, that's where we need to be. You guys see that blue line in the corner? That is the corner of this chunk, so that's where we need to turn right and start digging this way. And the same goes for here. One step further than that and we'd be in -6224, which is not the chunk we want to be in, so we'll turn right here. Oh, and of course we run into some gravel. Gravel is the bane of my life when I'm digging out this stuff, I swear. There we go, and we're back to the beacon beam. So we have now dug out the borders of this chunk at around Y40. You can have a little bit of headroom if you want to. That doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. The big task now in front of us is to get rid of all of the contents of this chunk, and that's where the beacon comes in. It's going to be much faster if you do this now with a beacon, which is why I haven't done a slime farm any sooner, because, yeah, just tearing through this chunk, obviously you got to watch the durability on your pickaxe and stuff like that, but yeah, having a beacon for this is so much easier than doing this manually, which I've done a couple of times. It just takes a long time. But make no mistake, my friends, we are going to be digging this out all the way to the bedrock, and so it's probably a good idea if I lay down a bunch of chests here that we can use to collect all the stone, because we're going to be getting a whole lot of stone, and hopefully with any luck we might get a few rare resources as well. So I think I'm probably going to invite my camera account in here, and we'll do this in the form of a time-lapse. Welcome back, folks. Hope you enjoyed the time-lapse. Here we have a very large hole dug all the way down to bedrock from Y40, or more like Y42, I guess, because it really kind of starts up here. But the idea is that we're going to build a series of spawning platforms down here for slimes to spawn on. Now, slimes can actually spawn in any light level, so amazingly enough, we can actually completely spawn-proof this area to other mobs and only have slimes appear. And we're going to build these platforms out of slabs, and they're going to be top half slabs, so they're going to kind of be on the top half of a block, so mobs will still be able to spawn on them, specifically the slimes in this case, and it should create a bunch of different spawning areas, basically in the lowest two sub-chunks. You see where those blue lines are there? We're not going to place any spawning platforms any higher than that. Now, we are going to be moving the beacon eventually, and to be honest, I didn't really mean to build it halfway into this chunk already. That's just kind of how the positioning worked out. But it's good that it's here, because we do need to dig some walls outside of these chunks as well. The problem with that, of course, is that I need to go and repair my tools. So I'm going to head over to my experience farm for my spider and skeleton spawner and actually get these fixed up, because they are pretty low on durability from digging out this entire chunk. Now, the reason I need to dig out the walls is, of course, because we're going to use this entire 16 by 16 area for spawning slimes, but then the slimes will need to go somewhere. The idea is that you attract them off of these spawning pads using iron golems, which slimes become hostile to if there's an iron golem within a certain radius. And that's where our iron farm comes in. It's going to be incredibly helpful having an iron farm, because we'll be able to make iron golems of our own. Instead of having to spawn them in, you can actually create them using iron blocks and pumpkins, in a similar way to the way you make the wither or a snow golem. And these iron golems are going to be lining the walls and luring the slimes off of these pads onto something quite similar to what we have in our spider farm, where there's a pad of magma blocks with a minecart with a hopper underneath collecting all of the drops. The slimes will end up bouncing onto the magma blocks, take enough damage that they die. They drop slime balls on death. It doesn't have to be a player kill for slimes to drop slime balls. The slime balls will be collected up by the minecart hopper and deposited into a chest where the drops can be whisked away back up to the surface, and we can collect them up here. The cool thing about slimes is that, unlike other mobs, they don't freeze in place when you get 32 blocks away from them. Because the slimes are constantly jumping up and down, they basically constantly register movement, and as a result, they will always be able to track over to the iron golems, rather than, say, a zombie or a skeleton or something like that, which, if you get 32 blocks away from it, stops tracking anything. The AI switches off and it stays perfectly still. Meaning that once we built this slime farm, we can basically leave it. We can be anywhere within 128 blocks and it will be producing slime for us without us having to really lift a finger. But obviously there's a little bit more work to be done here, so I'm going to head over to the skeleton and spider spawner so I can mend my pickaxes, and we're going to do a little bit more digging before we do the setup for the spawning pads themselves. A slime is here. We got one. It's working already. Okay, so this is in the process of preparing the slime chunks for an actual farm, but we may as well grab a little bit of slime while we still can. That must have spawned while I was up there preparing the kind of staging area. I realized I needed to move those chests because they were going to be in the way of what we're trying to do here. But yeah, I'm going to dig this place out a little bit more. My tools are pretty much all repaired, even though I've already worn down my pickaxe, gathering some more supplies for what we need to do here. But I'm going to fly up to here where I've been transferring all of the stone to some new chests because these ones are just hovering in the air. So with all that taken care of and my tools repaired again, we now have what we wanted. We've got a chunk in here, and if I press F3G, you can see that this section here is the chunk, and we've got a 3 deep section cut out of each of these 4 walls. And I've left the pillars on the sides like this, but that's mainly for aesthetic purposes. You don't really have to worry too much about that particular detail. Now, I'm going to do something which might seem a little bit weird, but trust me, it's going to help in the long term. I'm actually going to completely cover over this last layer here. The main reason for that being that this is bedrock and you can't break it. And there are some sections where we may need to dig into the floor a little bit, so giving myself a 1 block kind of buffer zone will allow us to work around any issues that might come up where we have to dig into the floor. I'm thinking mainly of the redstone components here because we're going to have to lay down some minecart track to collect the slime balls once they drop, and laying down redstone power sources if there's bedrock around is kind of a pain. It sometimes means that you can't put the power sources where you want them to go. So I'm going to pave this entire area with stone bricks basically, and that's absolutely fine because we have a whole bunch of stone now, as you might have gathered. We've been gathering a whole lot of it since we started mining out this entire chunk's worth of material and then some. And with that taken care of, I'm just going to light up the area around here to prevent hostile mobs from spawning. It just kind of saves the inconvenience of dealing with them at this stage. So we're going to come up here to the little supply chest I've gathered. Oh, that was that was a clutch ender pearl throw. That was ridiculous. Okay, now let's see what we've got in this chest. This is the one I want. We've got a ton of powered rail. We've got some redstone dust that I'm going to convert into redstone blocks. We've also got a few redstone torches that I need to make a comparator and stuff out of in a minute, but we don't need to worry about that just yet. And I also haven't brought the quartz, so we're not going to bother. I've got some sea lanterns. I've got some magma blocks. I have a whole lot of stone slabs, and I have the ingredients to make an iron golem. But we're going to leave those in here for now and just stick to this stuff. So to start off with, we're going to head down here and we're going to place some powered rails along here. We're probably going to have to head up to the storage chest and grab the regular rails as well, because what we want to do is set up a minecart track that's probably going to finish, I think, around here. We're going to have it finish in this pillar, so we're going to carve out a little bit more of this pillar. So let's have that go into there to start off with, and we need the regular minecart rails so it can turn bends, because if you remember, powered rail will not do that. So for now, we're going to lay down our powered rail. We're going to dig out some area in the center here just to make sure that these are all powered, and if we lay those over the top, transmission distance works out for us. Okay, so it is going to stop there, but we'll have something different powering this rail, so that's going to be fine. We want to do this on each of these sides and then connect the rails up using regular minecart rail for the corners around here. So the way I've now got this set up, there are actually two different sets of rail. There is one that starts here and goes all the way around this section and then turns this corner and goes all the way around this wall. And then there's this one over here where the rail takes them all the way along here and then around this corner and all the way to that section there. Once they reach this block and this block, the minecarts will actually rebound and go back around to there. So hopefully this is going to work. A quick demonstration with a hopper minecart just to make sure that it works. We'll push it off from here and it's going to go along this section of track. It's going to curve there. It's going to keep going around here. It'll take this corner and we might want to knock out the block on the corner just to make sure it doesn't get stuck there, maybe if the chunk unloads or something. And then it should come all the way right back via this track. Fantastic. So any drops on the blocks above here are going to be picked up by this hopper minecart, and then we'll have another one running on the opposite set of tracks. So two hopper minecarts are going to be doing the work here. And now comes the part where we cover the entirety of these tracks with magma blocks one block up, because obviously they won't be able to be placed on the same blocks as the powered rail. But you probably recognize this from the spider spawner that we made in a previous episode. And this is what's going to be killing the slimes when they arrive at their intended location. Of course, one of the other things we have to do, and something that I wish we still had the beacon for, but it kind of made sense to take it down so we could work on this area, is we're going to carve out niches in the wall here where the iron golems are going to stand, attracting the slimes onto these magma block killing pads. And brace yourself for a lot of crouching, because this is the part where we place all the slabs. And I don't just mean this level, we are going to do multiple levels of these things. Spaced out around these areas that are filled in with slabs, we're going to place some lighting sources. I'm going to use sea lanterns because I haven't had a chance to use them yet, and I think they're quite pretty. They go quite well with the slabs. They look nice and kind of modern and neutral. And placing them flush with the floor 3 blocks in from the corner means that the corner is going to be lit up to a value of 8 block light, which is not going to be enough for hostile mobs to spawn. Now remember, slimes can spawn at any light levels, so it's not going to affect the slime spawn rates at all. It's just going to mean you don't end up with like zombies and skeletons and stuff turning up in your slime farm. And this central section here is going to drop down to 6 block lights, so we're probably going to have to put a couple of light sources in here. And I don't want to just do one, because that kind of throws me off a little bit because it's not centered. This is an even numbered space. It's 16 by 16. So I'm actually going to put 2. I'm going to put them in there like that, and that's going to provide adequate light to the area, except on these corners, we're probably going to get a little bit of low block light as well, so chances are we will probably have to do something about that. Now, over here, we don't have that because the magma blocks are actually retaining the light level, so what I might try and do is put some torches underneath there to make sure the magma blocks keep that light level. When we create additional spawning pads, though, that is going to be a problem because we will need to put some sea lanterns in the floor, so we're going to be using a few more than we expected to, but maybe we can modify the configuration of them around here to make that work a little bit better. So the idea is that we're now going to leave a 3-block gap, because slimes need a 3-block high space in which to spawn. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3 blocks up. We're going to start the next platform there. And at this point, it's just a matter of rinse and repeat. We're going to do this every 3 blocks until we reach the top of our second sub-chunk here, which is going to be around Y32. Well, we are all done here, and these platforms are all pretty much identical, lit up, and the top one finishes up at Y32, which is actually, oh, just flickered that on and off there. That is actually the beginning of the next sub-chunk up, so this might not be the most efficient thing. The idea between sub-chunks is that if you have stuff lower in the world, mobs tend to spawn faster because the game calculates mob spawning from the bottom of a chunk upwards. The fewer sub-chunks you use, if you're like down at the bottom of the world, then the higher efficiency, in theory, mobs should spawn. Then again, these mechanics have changed a little bit as of 1.13, so that might not be entirely accurate now. But anyway, this thing is working. Like, it's working. And I actually managed to get a few more slime balls just by coming back here after going to drop off some resources and picking up some redstone stuff so that we can build the collection mechanism. There's even some down there now. Like, I don't think... There's nothing for the slimes to be attracted to, and there's none down here right now. But look, yeah, there's like the slime balls everywhere. They're just naturally moving onto the magma blocks because slimes tend to wander. They don't really have any kind of set kind of pathing, movement, or agenda. And like I said, they don't freeze in place. They tend to move around quite a lot. So to make this farm more efficient, what we want to do is move the slimes out of the spawning space as quickly as possible so the game doesn't detect that there are still slimes here and decide not to spawn anymore. And the way we're going to do that is with Iron Golems, because Iron Golems are a thing that most mobs will decide to track and attack. Luckily, I have brought a few blocks of iron that are completely separate from the beacon setup because the iron farm has still been producing a lot of iron. So we're going to start off by putting one iron golem in the wall over here, and the key is going to be to put it behind a fence so that the slimes can see it, but they can't actually jump over to it and attack it, right? So let's grab a few fences from in here. I think I at least brought some wood with me. Yeah, let's use some spruce logs for this. This little alcove over here is basically dead center with that platform. So in order to make an iron golem, we want to clear out a little bit of space around here just so it has a good chance to spawn. And what we want to do is build a T-pose, much like we do with the Wither, and you place a carved pumpkin on top of that. And bam, that turns into an iron golem who immediately, it turns out, suffocates in the wall. I'm sorry, fella. There we go. Oh dear. But you know what? If we push him a little bit further towards... Yeah, there we go. We should be able to build these blocks in here now, and then we can put a few fences down like so. And there we go. He is all boxed in here. So even if a baby slime nails the jump from up there and manages to land in there, I think we will still be fine. I think he'll probably either be able to fight it off and he won't take much damage because baby slimes do like no damage whatsoever, or maybe they'll take a tiny amount of damage over time, and maybe we can fill that in with, I don't know, glass panes or something like that that's not going to connect to the fences and will still allow the slimes to target the iron golem when they're spawning on these pads. But effectively, anything within range of that, anything that's going to spot the iron golem will be on this pad there and this pad there, and we can probably just space them out quite evenly between these platforms and get a bunch of slimes to drop off. So the more iron golems you can install, the better, really, just so the slime instantly gets line of sight on one of them. But even then, with 3 of these in each wall, except for the wall that's got our chests in, it does seem to be working. I've noticed a couple of slime balls when I've gone away and come back, so evidently slimes are spawning down here and getting attracted to the iron golems pretty quickly. Now, I think that one cell up here is probably where we're going to place our last iron golem, mainly because I've run out of iron blocks right now, because this is a very resource intensive project and I don't recommend doing this unless you have a lot of iron to burn or you've got yourself an iron farm. But there we go, that is our last iron golem in place. And just to demonstrate how these guys are different from the iron golems that spawn in villages, if you punch this guy, he's not going to fight back. If you did that to an iron golem in a village, you would probably die. It would be a very, very difficult fight to win. So these guys are just going to get squirreled away in here. I'm going to take out the rest of this, and then we can work on the collection mechanism, which is going to be fun because this is a really neat redstone contraption, and it's going to be designed to funnel all of the drops up through one of these pillars to the surface using a water column. And with a little bit of work, I think I've got this figured out. So all this is going to look a little bit complicated to those of you who aren't that familiar with redstone, but I'll try and explain it as best I can. This minecart with a hopper is going to collect up the slime balls from the magma blocks over here, and it's going to roll over the top of this hopper when it reaches the end of this minecart track, which is currently powered. When it rolls on top of the hopper, it's going to start transferring items through the hopper, and what we want it to do is stop on top of the hopper so that it doesn't just roll away immediately and take a bunch of those items with it. So what we have here is a circuit where a comparator is measuring whether or not there is an item in a hopper, which will actually switch it on, and the signal will be boosted by this repeater, bringing it round here and turning off this redstone torch. Because redstone torches have this fantastic property where they switch off if the block they are attached to is being powered by a different redstone current. So in this case, this is all going to light up and it's going to switch off this torch, which is currently powering this minecart track. So basically what happens is when the hopper minecart rolls onto this and it's full of stuff, it's going to switch off that rail, preventing it from rolling away until it's finished depositing all the items. Let me give you a quick example of this in action. So I'm going to put all 37 of the slime balls that I picked up up into the hopper minecart. I've just thrown them in, and they're sitting in there now. When I roll this thing up the slope towards that hopper, notice it switches off, transfers all of those items through there into this dropper where they're going to be ejected to go up into the surface, and the circuit is switched off until such time as the hopper minecart has completely finished filling this hopper with items. Once it's done, it simply rolls away again and begins its journey around the rest of the slime killing pads around this whole area. So that is how that is all set up. I'm going to build another one over here for the second minecart track so you guys can get an idea of what we're doing here. So there is a chain of hoppers here connecting this chest, which is where the slime balls are going to be deposited, with this dropper. It doesn't have to be a double chest, it's just a little bit easier right here because we're working around a lot of bedrock and there was a little bit more space for the hoppers if I made a double chest in these. Oh, there we go, look, a slime is about to die over here. In fact, I might help it along a little bit considering it's now tracking me instead of the Iron Golems, but that minecart with the hopper should actually pick those slime balls up on its way back to this drop-off station on its return journey. I'm excited to see this actually work, but look, there you go, we've got a little bit of experiences left over there because we killed it manually, but that rolls to the top of there and deposits the slime and then continues on, and that's all now in the hopper. We got 10 extra slime balls from that. Fantastic stuff. So anyway, back to the explanation. We're going to drop a hopper on top of this, and that is where the minecart is going to roll to a halt, and we need to have powered rail going up on top of that. Now remember, to power the rail, we actually need to have a redstone torch here, like so, but then we need the mechanism to switch that redstone torch off when the hopper has items transferring through into the chest. So we're going to place a comparator facing away from the hopper, like so. The torch there doesn't really matter, but I'm going to switch it off for the time being, just so it's a little bit clearer. We're going to place a redstone repeater immediately after that, and then 3 redstone dust coming out of the repeater and wrapping back around onto this block. And when the hopper has any items in it whatsoever, when it's transferring some stuff, it's going to turn off that minecart track. That is phase 1. Now for phase 2, we're going to work on the circuit that ejects all the items that come into this dropper and feeds them into a water column that's going to go up to the surface. And that involves this little circuit that I've showcased elsewhere on my channel, but again, I'll do my best to explain it for you now. We've got a dropper here being measured by a comparator and with a sticky piston below the comparator on this side. Now, thankfully, I'm kind of lucky in that there is a gap here where there isn't any bedrock. There is bedrock a little bit further down, of course, but it thankfully evades us for the time being. So what we're going to do is place a sticky piston in here, and we need to set up an observer clock. You remember when I demonstrated the flower farms? It's kind of a similar process here. What we want to do is dig this way a little bit so we can place an observer facing that way into the comparator, and then face another observer that way. So what's going to happen now is when this comparator detects any items are present in this dropper, it's going to activate the sticky piston through this observer block. The sticky piston is going to power, it's going to push this observer up, creating an observer clock. And the fact that this observer is ticking into this space means that the dropper will start ejecting items. I'm going to demonstrate now very quickly by placing this batch of stone in there, and see, the items just start to spit out instantly. Now all we have to do is install a soul sand bubble column underneath this, and it's going to push the items up to the surface in a water stream. That's going to take a little bit of doing because I need to go and grab some kelp and some soul sand and enough glass to block this in to make sure that the water isn't going to escape and flood out the redstone. So give me 2 seconds and I'll be back with that. So I've made the preparations, the soul sand is in place, I've got the coordinates that the soul sand is on, and now we have to begin the perilous process of digging down in a water column, because we're going to place a water column down here and then we're going to place kelp all the way back up. Now I've got respiration on my helmet, I could always grab a water breathing potion if I want to, but we can avoid the perils of falling into lava by placing this water source at the top here and then just digging straight down within it, because now even if we run into lava on our way down, we're guaranteed that the lava will turn into obsidian because water's going to be flowing out onto it. So we've really got nothing to worry about except suffocation. But we're going to be digging down all the way to y=6, where we will find our soul sand block, and I just have to remember to take the right tools with me when I'm digging down here. Here you can hear the lava popping away. Hopefully we are avoiding that if we're digging down in exactly the right location. But yep, it looks like we are digging into a cave. Not to worry though. Hopefully there is no lava around here and I can take a breather, which is actually something that I kind of need right now. We will need to block this entire thing off though, because the entire thing is going to be water sources very soon, and we want to maintain the integrity of our bubble column. So let's just make sure that we've got that all sealed up and continue on our downward journey. This shouldn't be too bad though. Oh, Yep, there we go. We've made it. Fantastic. So now all we need to do is swap out the soul sand block, actually, for something else, because soul sand cannot grow kelp on it because it's not a full block. It's actually like 15/16ths of a block, but that's fine. All we need to do is grow this kelp all the way back up to the surface, and we should be good. That is now kelp all the way. Let's swim down as fast as we can to get rid of this kelp and place our soul sand block, and after that we will be propelled back up to the surface, and so thereafter should be any items. And the items are coming in. As you can hear, there are going to be some slimes dying around here very shortly, so hopefully we should be able to get this soul sand block here in time. We'll pop that on there, like so, and whoosh, we are off to the surface. Fantastic. Now, if we wait here for a short amount of time, we'll gather up all of that kelp, but we might even get to see some of the slime balls pop up here as well. Oh, here they come now. Hey, it's a slime fountain. And there we go. All we need to do is hook this up to another water stream that's going to lead it into hoppers. You see that? We got a whole bunch of slime balls there. All right, folks, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little episode. It's been a little bit of a hectic one. It's taken me a little while to put this together. There's a lot of digging involved, but I hope you guys enjoyed it a great deal. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.